And when he got closer to the door, he could see visibly in the class. Although it was dark, he could see visibly in the class. And then when he entered the door, the noise immediately stopped. It was just like someone pressed the pause button. So immediately everything stopped. There was nobody there. The place was completely dark. Now, in the federal government college in Okigwe, a lot of stories, ghost stories, some fairy tales, some actually true, were spread all over the campus in that college. Now, Austin was an SS3 student who had the aspiration of being an architect. Now, because he had the aspiration of being an architect and he really wanted to pursue his career in architecture, so he had to take classes in technical drawing. Now, as a technical drawing student, Austin had to practice more and keep on practicing his drawings so that he can meet up with his life aspirations. So in that case, Austin will always stay back in class up till late in the evening trying to finish his drawings, because technical drawing at the time contains lots and lots of drawings. So he would stay back in class. Sometimes he will be alone up to about 9 p.m. before maybe the security guards will come tell him time to go back to the hostel. Then he goes back to the hostel. Austin, who never believes in any ghost stories or any spirits or paranormal activities, do not have any need to fear. So even if he's in the class all alone, even as big as the hall might be, he doesn't care. His only goal is to finish his drawing and make sure he gets it right. And then when he is done with that, he moves straight to his hostel. Austin had decided to stay back for the night prep. Others were already tired because of the sport activities that had happened earlier in the day, and they had all gone back to their hostel. But Austin decided to stay and finish his drawings. So while drawing that day, all he had was a little rechargeable lamp which he had bent over to his table so he could see what he's drawing and make sure he doesn't make any errors that would cause him restarting the drawing or make him mess his paper. So while he was doing that, in that big hall, he heard a chuckle behind him. Now, when he heard that, he didn't even care. He just believed it was normal. Probably one of the junior students had come to spy on him or was actually playing around the hall while he was doing his drawing. So he never gave attention to it. He continued drawing until this time he heard it louder. I heard this chuckle. A little child playing and making those funny sounds like playing that, and he heard it behind again. This time it caught his attention and he needed to turn. And then he turned back. And as he turned back, he was surprised because he heard the chuckle, and immediately, within many seconds, he turned back and looked behind him to see who was that or where that was coming from or why a junior student would be playing at this time. It was getting scary, but Austin would refuse to pay it any attention as he turned his back to his paper and forgot about everything he had just heard and said maybe it was a crazy junior student, and kept on drawing on his paper. While drawing, this time while he was concentrating on his work, by the side of his eye, he was able to see from the window he was sitting close to, not really close to, but there was a window by the left that was there. And while he was drawing, he could see from the side of his eye that there was actually somebody peeping him there, like putting their face close to the wall and peeping at him through the window. He was getting furious this time, and he quickly turned his head to get a glimpse of that person. And when he turned and looked at the window, immediately the face left the window with a chuckle. It was getting very annoying. Why would a junior decide to come and play with his senior student at this time? Austin had no school son or any of that, so nobody would even dare to play with a senior at this time. All the junior students were very wary of the senior students because they had no close relationship. The senior students were up there, the junior students were down here. So it was getting annoying for Austin, and Austin decided, okay, I'm going to keep this, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Whoever is doing this or whoever is trying to distract me this night from finishing my drawing and going back to my hostel would definitely pay for it. He kept his drawing, took his lamp, and then went outside with that force. Now immediately he stepped outside to catch whoever that person was. Another person quickly ran past him and entered into the next class that was just in front of the hall he was sitting. And while the person was running into, he was like, hey, stop there, stop there. And he was trying to make the person stop, but the person never stopped, and the person ran into that class. Now, immediately the person ran into that class, he started hearing noise. more like students in that class, and these students were voices he could recognize. Yes, they were his classmates, people in the same class. So the noises were sounding like the voices of his classmates talking while they were in class. Probably they were just making some noise, and it was loud. He could hear it very, very well, and was like, what are my classmates doing in this room? Are they not supposed to be in the hostel? Nobody stays up to this time. It was over 9 p.m. Nobody stays in class up till this time. I'm like the only student who does it back to back. And he was like, why are my classmates here? And he was like, I'm going to find out. Then he started walking closer because he was anxious to know why his classmates would be in class at this time. Or is there a test, or did they plan something, or whatever is going on? And then he started walking into that class. While he was getting closer to the door, the sound started increasing. The noises from his classmates started increasing, and he was like, they are definitely here. So he just wanted to get to the bottom of it and go and see why his classmates there, and also see if he can see that person who ran and entered that class, that person who has probably been disturbing him all night. And when he got closer to the door, he could see visibly in the class. Although it was dark, he could see visibly in the class, and then when he entered the door, the noise immediately stopped. It was just like someone pressed the pause button. So immediately everything stopped. There was nobody there. The place was completely dark. There was no student there. There was no movement, nothing. Not even a cockroach, or not even a rat or anything, or mouse. Nothing was there. And then he stepped in. He was still anxious. He went into the class. He was holding his lamp. He was pointing around. He didn't see anybody. He went close to the windows to see if anybody was standing maybe outside the window. Nobody was there. Now he was getting scared. What is this? I hate students. I know I'm not mad. I hate students making noise. I hate my classmates. I could recognize their voice. I could recognize a lot of their voice. He wanted to turn and then go back outside since nothing was happening. While he was still pointing his light, still asking himself questions that what is this? He immediately noticed again that somebody was now peeping him from the door or the entrance of this class, and he noticed it, but so the person doesn't run away, so he wanted to pretend like he didn't see it so he can immediately turn his head and catch that person and get a glimpse of the person's face, so he can know how to punish this person, because he was still believing somebody was playing pranks on him. So while he was doing that, the person was peeping his head from the side and trying to peep at him, and he could see it obviously from the side of his eye. So he immediately held his light and turned it to that direction, and immediately saw it. A very heavy male laughter with baritone voice laughed, and then ran again. And then he immediately dashed out of the class to see who that person was. And immediately he left and went out of the class. He did not see anybody. Everywhere was dark. Only the hostel lights from far he could see. He immediately realized his hair started getting swollen. It was more like his head is going to burst, and then he immediately knew that something was wrong. He was so scared, so he didn't even bother to carry his drawing or the papers in the hall. He quickly ran back to his hostel with that fright. He was running. He never looked back for once until he got to his hostel. And when he got to his hostel, he immediately went to the rooms of his classmates that he had heard there, and then he told them what had happened, and everybody started laughing at him. They told him maybe he was sleeping, he had a dream, and that it cannot possibly be true and all of that. And he told them he was true. He doesn't believe in all those things, but he knew what he heard, he knew what he saw, and none of them believed it. Okay, no problem. Maybe I was the one who was just thinking things and just said, okay, let it be. But he will never forget this thing, because these things or these events actually played in his head, and he won't forget any part of it. Some months later, some of his classmates started having the same experience, and that was where they all concluded that yes, this thing is happening in FGC Okigwe. Now, a lot of them knew that there were other mites, there were other stories about Madam Koi Koi, other bed shakers, and other dormitory stories, but most of them were not experienced. But this one was beginning to be the new trend in the FGC Okigwe. That was what happened, and that was how it unfolded. Right now, as we speak, Austin is an architect. Already he has graduated from the university, but he will never forget about what happened while he was in secondary school. This is his story, and if you like it, do well to share it. Please like and subscribe, and make sure you share the video to get more interesting stories, because trust me, I am digging and making a lot of research. I'm trying my best to find a lot of exciting stories and documentaries that is going to thrill all of you. So you have to subscribe so you're not going to miss any one of it. Thank you very, very much, and this is my time.